In this video, you will learn to determine if two angles are complementary or supplementary, and to find a missing measure of a complementary or supplementary angles. So to begin, we first must understand what are our definitions. What is complementary and what is supplementary? So starting with complementary angles, by definition, are two angles that add up to 90 degrees. So for example, here we have this picture where we have two angles put together side by side. Notice if you look at angle ABD, this 60-degree angle, and angle DBC, this 30-degree angle, if you add them together, you get 90 degrees. So those two angles, angle ABD and angle DBC, are what we call complementary. Here in example 2, we have two angles that are not side by side, but they also add up to 90 degrees. Angle FED is 75 degrees, angle CAR is 15 degrees. If you add those together, you get 90. So again, those two angles, FED and CAR, are complementary. Now, what if you were told that you have two complementary angles and you do not know the measure of the one angle? So here, for example, we have angle ABD that we're trying to find, and we're given angle DBC. So if you know or are told that we have complementary angles, we can use a little bit of math to solve for the unknown angle. So first off, make sure you know this notation right here. If you put an M in front of the angle, so like M angle ABD, what this means is the measure of angle ABD. So the way this is stated is it's asking you what is the measure of angle ABD, or find that measure. So to find that measure, we realize that if we add the measure of angle ABD with the measure of angle DBC, if we add those two measures together, we know that it must equal 90 degrees, because that's our definition of complementary angles. So what we have here is a little equation that we can solve. So to solve this, we need to get this measure by itself. So that means we must remove this plus 40, move it to the other side by doing the inverse of adding 40, which is subtracting 40. So we subtract 40 from both sides. Now we have the measure of angle ABD equals 50. So we have concluded that this measure right here, this unknown angle, is 50 degrees. Now, another way that we could phrase a question like that is we could maybe be told, for example, that an angle is 42 degrees. And this question here says find the measure of the complement. So it's really asking the same thing as the last problem. It's just worded a little bit differently, where it's using the word complement. So when it says find the measure of the complement, that is the angle that is adding with this 42-degree angle to give you 90. All right, so we know that some angle, we'll call that x, plus this other angle, 42 degrees, must equal 90 degrees total. Right? Two angles added together gives you 90. We see that because of the word complement. Complement has the idea of complementary, or adding to equal 90 degrees. So again, what we have here is an equation that we can solve. To solve this, we can get rid of this plus 42 degrees by subtracting 42 degrees. And we do that to both sides of the equation. So now we have x equals 90 minus 42, which gives us 48 degrees. So the measure of the complement would be 48 degrees. So this has been complementary angles. So next, what we're going to talk about is supplementary angles. The definition of supplementary angles is two angles that add up to 180 degrees. So it's the same idea as complementary angles, except here we have angles adding to 180, not to 90. So here's an example. We have this picture, and we have two angles that are touching each other. They're side by side. So we have angle ABD is 130 degrees, and angle DBC is 50 degrees. If you add those two angles together, that gives you 180 degrees. So we can say that those two angles, ABD and DBC, are supplementary. And they're supplementary because they're adding to 180. And by the way, notice that what this is creating is a straight line. If we put these two angles together, we get a straight line. And as we've learned in a previous lesson, a line or a straight angle has 180 degrees. Another example, here we have two angles that are not side by side, but these would also still be supplementary. Because if you take these two measures, the measure of FED and the measure of angle CAR, those angles added together, 165 plus 15, would still give you 180. So even though they're not touching, they still would be supplementary because they're adding to 180 degrees. So we can say that angle FED and angle CAR are supplementary. Now in this example, we are told that we have supplementary angles, and we're trying to find this missing angle right here. All right, so we're trying to find the measure of angle DBC. So again, make sure you know this notation, that the M in the front means measure. So what this is saying is find the measure of angle DBC. What is the measure of that angle? Well, we know that these two angles added together gives you a line or a straight angle, which is 180 degrees. So the 140 degree angle plus the unknown angle equals 180 degrees. So we can write a little equation. We can write the measure of this angle DBC plus 140 equals 180, right? Because they add together to give you 180 degrees. And then we're trying to solve for this measure. We're trying to figure out what is this angle measure. So to solve for that, we need to remove this 140, and we do that by moving it to the right side, and we do that by subtracting 140. So when we subtract 140, that will cancel out over here. We're left with the measure of angle DBC on the left side equals 180 minus 140, which gives you 40 degrees on the right side. So we have calculated that the measure of angle DBC, this unknown angle, is 40 degrees. One more example, and here it's really the same type of question as the last problem, but I want to point out this term right here, supplement. So it comes from the word supplementary angles. So here we're asked to find the measure of a supplement if an angle is 42 degrees. So what this is asking is what angle adds with the 42 degree angle. So what angle is added with that to give you 180 degrees. So when you see the word supplement or supplementary, think 180. So what angle adds with 42 degrees to give you 180? Well, we can solve that. And it may be helpful or better if you put the x first. It doesn't really matter, but some people struggle with knowing how to solve if you put the 42 in the front. But either way, what we want to do, with however you set the equation up, you want to subtract 42 degrees to bring it to the right side. So when you do that, you now have x equals 180 minus 42, and that would give you 138 degrees. So the solution is x equals 138 degrees. So to finish off this lesson, I think a lot of people will remember the terms complementary and supplementary, but many times they struggle with remembering which one is which. So what I'm about to show you is just kind of a dumb way to remember. It's just my own weird way, but it might help some of you, so I'm going to go through this quick. So for complements or complementary, okay, so think through if you're going to compliment someone. Okay, you need two people, right? You need yourself and another person. Okay, you cannot compliment yourself, right? That's kind of weird, okay? So to compliment someone, you need yourself and another person. So you need two people total. Same idea here. We need two angles. Okay, so not just one angle, not just a 90-degree angle. We need two angles that add up to 90 degrees. All right, so we need two angles. And if you're going to compliment someone, you might say something like, you know what, you look all right. Okay, all right, right angle is 90 degrees. So if you compliment someone, say you're all right, you can maybe think of that right as 90 degrees. So two angles that add to 90 degrees. That's complementary. Okay, so kind of a weird way to remember. It might help some of you. I don't know. And then for supplementary, okay, you see the root word supplement. Okay, when you think supplement, in English, another context of the word supplement is with dieting. So a supplement could be like taking protein or some vitamins, and it's usually taken to get healthy or many times to lose weight. So for this one, you can maybe think of someone who is trying to change their life and get healthy, and they want to do a 180 in their life. They want to start going the other direction. So if they do a 180 in their life, go in the other direction, they make that change. Okay, now they're going to start taking supplements. They're going to start dieting. They're going to start eating right. So again, another dumb way to remember, but someone trying to get healthy would take supplements. They do a 180 in their life. They turn around, go the other direction in their life to make that change. So again, this would require two angles, just like the complementary angles. Two angles that add up to 180. So it's not just one angle that has a measure of 180. It's two angles that add up to equal 180. So again, those are kind of weird ways to remember. It may be helpful for some of you. But either way, make sure you know the terms. Make sure you know what those terms mean and how to solve for an unknown measure. And that concludes our lesson for today. We will see you next time.